The priority for the United States in its new security strategy is to protect American interests from China. This means that Europe must be stronger than it is today.
Amerykanie w tej strategii jednak
In this strategy, the Americans are sending a signal that the burden will now fall not on collective cooperation, but on nation states. This may also be beneficial for us, because for many years Poland has been advocating that the European Union should be an alliance of European homelands rather than a single federated state. Otherwise, Europe could quickly become a burden rather than a support for NATO. In the long term, it is entirely likely that within a few decades at the latest, some NATO countries will become predominantly non-ethnic European. Contrary to the propaganda of left-wing liberal politicians, including those from Poland, this does not mean the withdrawal of the U.S. Army from Europe, but a thorough restructuring of the security architecture and the creation of a new U.S. sphere of influence on the old continent. I have the impression that this is also drawing conclusions from what destroys and divides the community. I mean, of course, the European Union here and what has failed. I mean the open door policy, the migration crisis, the undermining of the sovereignty of member states, or the pursuit of supposed climate improvement. There are many examples. Americans point to the undermining of political freedom and the sovereignty of nation states, a migration policy with tragic consequences, censorship of freedom of speech, suppression of political opposition, falling birth rates, and the loss of national identity. These concerns are shared by the Polish National Security Bureau. If current trends continue, the continent will be unrecognizable in 20 years or less. Therefore, it is not clear whether some European countries will have a strong enough economy and army to remain credible allies. This is, of course, primarily about Germany. The head of German diplomacy, Johann Vadeful, has already responded to criticism from the U.S. administration. The United States has been and remains our most important ally in NATO, but the alliance concerns political and security issues. Of course, we also share common values, but freedom of speech and the functioning of society are matters for Germany, not NATO. We do not need outside help in these matters. They are regulated by the German constitution. However, facts cannot be disputed. The White House emphasized in its document that Europe has shrunk from 25% of global GDP to 14%, and, I quote, is drifting towards civilizational obliteration. This is a real concern about the direction in which Germany is leading the European Union, and indeed it draws attention to. There is a statement there about the countries of our region, as those countries that are a healthy element of this system, and Poland is the largest country in this region. So when Americans talk about this region, they are thinking primarily of Poland. This should come as no surprise to anyone. U.S. President Donald Trump has been demanding greater activity from Germany for years and has always pointed to Poland as a model of a responsible ally.
Well, I think NATO should have 5%, yeah. Well, you can't do it at 2%. I mean, at 2%, every country, if you're going to have a country in a regular military, you're at 4%. I think they should be, they're in dangerous territory. I think it should be, they can all afford it, but they should be at 5%, not 2%.
Poland pays more and more. This year, it was 4.5% of GDP. Next year, it is to be as much as 4.8% of GDP. In this strategy, for those who have read it, of course, which requires some effort, there is a clear distinction. We have the opinion that we want to strengthen the healthy countries of Central and Southern Europe through trade cooperation, arms sales, etc. And on the other hand, we have words about Western Europe that we want to turn it away from its course. We have criticism of Berlin. That is why the opportunity that the new U.S. security strategy brings to European countries that have been marginalized by Germany until now is also recognized by, among others, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The document talks about what some of us had the courage to define a long time ago as an inevitable path in history. We know that this is an inevitable process, and at the same time an opportunity for us. Of course, it will have its economic price, but in return, it will bring us political freedom. The new U.S. security strategy is an opportunity to create a new American sphere of influence in Europe based on democratic countries that not only value freedom, but are also aware that this freedom must come at a price. And it really depends on Poland whether we will have a greater significance in this new American sphere of influence here in Europe, whether we will be considered a guarantee of security and peace here in this part of Europe, and whether we will be considered a country that should be supported and aided in its development. That is why analysts from the National Security Bureau are already working intensively on preparing Poland for the new U.S. security strategy.